The highly infectious Delta strain has also infected the reactions of our federal and state political leaders. It is just 2 weeks since the Prime Minister announced a 4-phase plan to move Australia back to some sort of normality, starting with a world where lockdowns and border controls would only be used as a last resort.
We have agreed a new deal for Australians on the pathway out of COVID-19.
It is just 2 days since the Prime Minister announced new income support measures to assist people in New South Wales deal with an extended lockdown.
And it's in the national interest that we now put in place an upgraded set of arrangements for cooperation with the states and territories that will first be put in place here with New South Wales.
Facing an angry backlash from Victorians who did not receive the same support in their last lockdown, Mr Morrison today foreshadowed another change in the arrangements ahead of Victoria's latest lockdown announcement, which would make income support cut in immediately and streamline federal support for business.
You adapt, you change, you update, you streamline, you make it more simple. That's what it means. It just shows a government that is seeking to be up to the mark and flexible and make sure we get things right.
The spread of the Delta variant also seems to have changed the way the Prime Minister talks about official health advice. This week he said the expert immunisation panel ATAGI had been very cautious on Astra Zeneca and blamed that advice for putting the vaccine rollout behind schedule. For business owners around the country, it doesn't matter who's to blame. What matters is to survive the next few months and get an accurate read on what the future of government support will look like. Dan Conifer reports.
When you don't have any money coming in and you've had a year like we've had, it's really quite hard.
Even before lockdown, business was sluggish for Renee Baltov's Sydney barbershops. Then she was forced to close in late June as the city's COVID outbreak worsened.
Obviously, we're not taking any revenue or generating any revenue, and none of my expenses have presently gone down. In fact, they're going up.
Renee estimates she's losing thousands of dollars each week the lockdown continues. She says it's hard to watch retail stores still trading, fearing it will lead to her business being shut for longer.
If transmission keeps going through these larger retailers that are not essential, then this is just going to go on for longer and longer. So, which puts more pressure on small businesses because we don't have the cash flow.
We not only expect people to stick to the rules, but to respect the intent of the rules as well. And this has stood us in good stead.
But one rule the government has struggled to explain is precisely who is considered an essential worker under the lockdown.
All of us have to be less mobile. And as Dr Chan and I...
There are strict rules in place. The rules are, if you can't work from home, you can go to work still. They're still the rules.
Exactly, and we stick by those rules.
That's not your message. It's very different to the rules and your message.
No. You must stay at home and work from home. However, if you cannot do that, you are able to leave home for work. And in those circumstances,
why not tighten that though? The Victoria did it very successfully, and you're saying...
No, they didn't.
For days, there have been reports of internal division within the state government over how early or hard to lock down. Should we have locked down harder sooner or done anything differently to clamp down?
I think where we sit today, we're in a good position here in our state.
Have you ever in any forum argued against a harder or earlier lockdown in this wave?
Well, we've always had constructive discussions in relation to it, and I think that's led to New South Wales' success here. I mean, we have had a balanced and proportionate response, and I think where we sit today, we are in a good position. There's more to do.
I think under the assumption that a short, sharp, harder lockdown early was effective and was able to contain the Delta variant within a week, I don't think there's any debate about whether that would have been a more desirable course. It certainly would have.
While Sydney-siders are the ones locked down, the economic pain extends well beyond the city limits. In Jindabyne, Kane and Laura Stamp own the Birchwood Cafe. Typically, this time of year is peak season for the New South Wales holiday town and nearby ski resorts.
It's normally cracking, so it's normally School holidays are still wrapping up, so it'd be 100% capacity. All the accommodation being on the mountains in Jindabyne would just be full. And at the moment, I think the resorts are about 10 to 20%, and Jindabyne's probably about 30 to 40%.
With tourist numbers down, business at their once busy cafe has slowed, and most of their trade is local.
We've had to cut hours for all of our staff and spread them out, make sure they've got enough to pay their rent, their bills, and survive. But then at the same time, try not to be overstaffed and have our expenses too high for what we're bringing in.
The couple hopes to qualify for government support, but because they only bought the business in January, they're unsure if they'll be eligible.
Well, I really hope we are, and I hope the other businesses that are struggling are eligible. So I hope that the criteria is a little bit more broad and it reaches everyone that it needs to reach.
The support announced this week gives more cash to workers who've lost hours and money to businesses that have seen turnover fall by at least 30%, including regional businesses.
I think it's going to be effective at putting a floor under income and demand in the economy.
Crank it up. It just seems like a never-ending nightmare.
Music store owner Suzanne Bennett saw the signs of a lockdown approaching in Victoria earlier this week.
Good afternoon, the Basement Disc. Suzanne speaking.
People were nervous here in Melbourne as soon as lockdowns were announced in New South Wales because we're so familiar, we know exactly how it goes, what it feels like.
During Melbourne's previous 2-week lockdown last month, Suzanne and other Victorian business owners weren't offered the same support New South Wales is now getting.
The short, sharp lockdown that we had recently, that was extremely concerning for all. You know, given the previous lockdowns, we at least had the support of JobKeeper. I was basically borrowing from friends and family.
She hopes the situation is different this time around.
I think it should be a level playing field. We are all in the same boat. It would be nice if there wasn't so much politicking involved. I mean, you know, you're talking about people's lives here. These circumstances are beyond most people's control.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.